just a follow-up video to my reply to European Boxing News. He was attempting to restructure boxing into a league format, sort of like the Champions League they have in football, or what you guys over there call soccer. We call it football, see? All right. I'm just going to drop this video to give you more empirical evidence to back up my argument. Now, last year, 2011, the WBC drew sanctioning fees from a staggering 458 bouts, spread over in a baffling array of championship tags. The difference between the WBC Ferabox and the WBC Combox, anyone know? Neither do I. And hands up to all of those who can explain what the CABOFE, the CABOFE is, and the Continental Americas are about, not to mention the WBC Baltic Silver. In a similar vein, the WBO sanctioned 260 fights, anything from the WBO Latino belt and the WBO China Zone, which would make sense, but they've had Americans contesting that belt. Now, the UFC has been going on for a minute now. I can trace it back in my memory for at least 20 years. I know it's probably been going longer than that. Now, MMA and UFC are breathing down boxing's neck as a contender for the top combat sport. And the only thing saving boxing right now is its great history. We have legends, you know, and people who you can call legends because they've been dead over 100 and 200 years maybe, which the UFC doesn't quite have because it hasn't been there long enough. I mean, boxing you can trace back to Sugar Ray Robinson, to Jack Johnson, John L. Sullivan, even way before that, before the London prize fighting rules, Tom Molyneux versus Cribb for the British Championship, where they robbed Tom Molyneux as a black man. And boxing is not called the sport of kings for nothing. I'm getting most of the information for this video from the Boxing News. It's funny how my life works, you know. I posted up the reply to European Boxing News about his video. 2 days later, I go in the news agent, looking at the magazines, looking at the Boxing News. The first headline, even before Muhammad Ali's birthday, what does it say? Title madness in boxing, chaos reigns. More than 1,100 championship fights in 2011. I said, man, it's funny how my life works. That's all I've been thinking about is boxing. Here's the belts, and then, bam, they bring the empirical evidence to back my video up. Nice. Now, when I read this next section of the article I'm going to quote, it started flashing back memories. I remember the story. There was a fighter named Darren Morris. He was dead. The guy was dead. And he was ranked by the WBO at 7. And his ranking went up to 5. How did that happen? The man's dead. You know what I mean? That shows what kind of joke thing these guys are on. They're on a joke thing. There's no doubt about that. The WBO once pulled a journeyman out from his ringside seat just after he ate pizza to fight Tommy Morrison. His name was Tim Tomaszek. I remember Morrison knocked him out anyway. That's crazy, man. But no surprise, because let's face it, Tommy knocked out a lot of stiffs. But before we get too nostalgic about the old days, it wasn't always that good. Yeah, fair enough, the system was a lot simpler. 8 divisions, 8 champions, bam. Whether that was Henry Armstrong or Willie Pep, Sandy Sadler, Ray Robinson, Ike Williams, brilliant fighter. We knew who was who. But at the same time, we had the mob, and it was really tarnishing the image of the sport. It had a really gritty image in the 60s and 50s. Tyson's guardian, Cus D'Amato, did a whole lot to combat the mob. He spoke out and he helped the authorities clean up the sport. Well, when I say clean it up, to a degree. He stood up to the mob. Ray Robinson, he also refused to fuck with the mob, but generally, you couldn't get a shot at no elite title if you wasn't running with the mob. And good fighters ended up throwing fights. People like Archie Moore ended up waiting 16 years for a title shot because they wasn't connected. So it wasn't all good. It wasn't all good. One of my subscribers, Blood Boxing, he's dedicating a few videos about the proliferation of belts too. And he was speaking about the WBC light heavyweight title bout between Mike Nunn and Graziano Rocchigiani. Hope I spelled that right. And Rocchigiani won the belt. And I think, Roy Jones they stripped Roy Jones off the title. And Rocchigiani versus Nunn was for the vacant title. They stripped Jones off. And after Rocchigiani won the fight, they gave Jones back the title. It was just a total farce. And Rocchigiani wasn't having none of it. He sued them for $30 million. They settled out of court, I think, for less. But they have to still pay him whatever it is in installments. And every once in a while, they bring out the begging bowl from other countries' boxing organizations, the British Board of Control in on it. And that's how they deal with that. These days, when I'm making boxing videos, I'm realizing if I can get the correct content and make it precise, short, condensed nicely, it's more effective. Because if I was to list down all the indiscretions by all these buddies that are listed in this magazine article alone, you'll be like, wow. But if you request it, I'll list them all down and I'll dig for more too. I'll do a video on that if required. Another story that flashbacks and memories was when my sister's boyfriend at the time, he told me that the WBC reduced the 15-round limit to 12. Not for safety reasons or health reasons. They did it so it could fit TV scheduling. That's why they did it. It wasn't for no safety reasons. There was never no conclusive or empirical data from the BMA that 15 rounds is more dangerous than 12. That study was never done. The only scientific studies, to my knowledge, in the last 20 years or so is that drying out to make the weight can be a hazard to the boxer. That's why they've brought the weigh-ins forward so the boxers can be better replenished by the time they get in the ring. Another misconception spread by some of these boxing organizations is that the fluctuation of different weight classes as opposed to the old school standard 8 is that it's less dangerous if fighters have to move up 3 pounds than it is 7. Again, no empirical data on that either. We all know, do the math. More weight classes, more bouts, more sanctioning fees. So, who's up for some alphabet soup? Because mine has the ultimate flavor. Check this out. I've got WBC, WBO, WBA, IBF, GBU, IBA, GBC, WBF Federation, and WBF Foundation, and the IBC. I was thinking that maybe we could get a collective of boxing fans, and all we do is support whoever the Ring magazine put up as champion. And that's it. Bam. Even if sometimes we don't always agree with the champions they might pick. Surely there has to be a better solution than the one we're currently dealing with now. Surely. All right, people, I've made a pledge to shorten up the video, so I'm going to stick to that. So this is Boxing Beats and Rhymes saying peace out and later.